FightSaga.com and Halftime Pizza proudly present Real Talk with boxing professional Rick Glaser.
Guys, welcome. Happy Thursday to all of you. We appreciate you guys joining us for this special edition of Real Talk with the one and only, the incomparable, and always candid, Big Rick Glaser. Rick, how you doing tonight, sir?
Good, buddy. Thanks for having me on, Joe. Everything's well, and looking forward to having a good show with you tonight.
Absolutely, guys. We've got so much to discuss, and for the obvious reasons, the great majority of this show is going to be devoted to the big one coming up on Saturday night, guys. And we've got Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, and after a fiery and very emotionally driven press conference, well, we're going to get the thoughts of Big Rick Glaser on everything that transpired this week, today, the grand arrivals. We look forward to the weigh-in tomorrow. Rick, speaking of the weigh-in, brother, before we go into your first Twitter watch, and once again, my brother, my customary co-host, G Funky, he wanted to be here, but he's very, very busy, and he is, well, doing his research, and he's going to help me interview our brother, Sugar Hill Stewart, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So, guys, please tune in for that. And once again, Rick, talking about the weigh-in, well, the actual weigh-in tomorrow is going to take place at 10 a.m. Pacific, Vegas time. And the weigh-in ceremony is not going to take place until 5 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. Pacific. Do you like that, how they spread it out? Do you think that that's good or bad for the health of the sport? Do you think that kind of diminishes well, let's hear. Why, sir?
Just because I don't believe in two weigh-ins when it should be at 4 o'clock, not 1 o'clock, 3 hours. Now, the zone fights, they do it an hour apart. I get that because sometimes shit happens at a weigh-in that they don't want the general public to see. A guy half nude, a guy fully nude to make the weight, yelling and screaming because the guy's overweight. I get that an hour. That's a ceremonial difference. But this is, I mean, come on. You have one, basically the real weigh-in should be tomorrow at 5 o'clock, the 6 o'clock Eastern time. One way and stuff. It's too phony.
Yeah, you know what? This is why I love featuring gentlemen who have decades of experience in the business, like James Gogi on Sunday. Well, he's of the belief that it defeats the purpose of having weight divisions if you give someone 36 hours to rehydrate. And then
that's
Ronnie,
100% true. True.
Then Ronnie, being the ex-fighter, he's like, well, you know what? Anything for the health of the fighters. But is it actually healthier to allow that much of a hydration period? Do you think that constitutes weight bullying?
All the fighters except cruiserweights and heavyweights are in the same wrong weight class these days. Yep. Okay. In other words, and 75 pounders, 175 pounders, they're in the right weight class. 68 should be 75. 60 should be really 68. The list goes on and on. They make these weigh-ins so far ahead. Well, they can rehydrate. Nobody's in the right weight class.
That's it. And guys, look for the article. And thank you, Rick, for that tidbit. And yeah, you're going to be in the article tomorrow. I'm going to get your quote on that, as well as quotes from Gogi, as well as quotes from Ronnie. This is why I absolutely love featuring you guys here during the week, because, yeah, it's newsworthy when you guys actually say it. And we have the utmost respect for you and your experience in the business, unlike a lot of pendejos who don't understand the years that you have under your belt in this brutal ass-beating business, and it's become a real problem, Big Rick. Okay, misrepresentation in these assholes, pardon my French, who call themselves new media, but don't know a damn thing about real, honest journalism, Rick,
Well,
would you like
they're
to
so
expound on that,
dumb.
sir?
Yeah, well, they're so dumb. They call me old media. I'm not even in the media. I'm a
Oh,
boxing
geez.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm a old school boxing guy. I'm not a media guy. They just don't get it. I mean, they're thick as bricks. Some of them say that I'm a failed manager, and Al Heyman pushed me out of the business. Oh, but you should hear the shit that goes on.
Oh,
Okay, I
jingo.
don't even do. I don't represent fighters. I advise a couple fighters with managers and stuff, but they all have managers, and that's I just help out. My business is brokering deals, rendering advice. Okay, an expert witness in lawsuits, supply sparring partners, make matches for people. You know, as a broker, not as a matchmaker. It just they don't get it. I don't know what to say. I mean, this new media, they got these things in their head. Al Heyman ran me out of the business. Al Heyman did run me out of shit.
Yeah.
So I have
Well,
no idea. They're just idiots. All
it's
of them.
well, we're going to address it tomorrow with our brother Sugar as well, because it's become a huge problem with him as well. This is why
Yeah.
he limits the number of interviews he actually does now. And guys, we're getting it exclusively tomorrow with Sugar Hill, and he's going to let everyone have it, just like you just did, Big Rick. And so we really appreciate, and keep in mind, guys, anyone who frequents and allows us to share the air with them on War Week Radio, they're going to be treated with respect, and justifiably so, with the years of experience they have in this business. It's almost a thankless endeavor at times. So that's what you're going to get on this channel. And I tell you what, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. I tell you what, though, it's about that time, Rick. Are you ready, sir?
Maybe, just maybe, it's time for Rick Glaser's Twitter watch. Bang!
We go with it. Can am I allowed to say tweet? Am I allowed to say that now because of the ridiculous logo change? What do I call it? An X now?
And it still says Twitter on my account, and it's still the fucking bird. So I don't know what they're talking about. I saw that with the X and stuff. That's all right. Whatever.
Well, here goes. Here comes the first X, Big Rick, and this was delivered today at 3:21 p.m. right after the press conference. He says, quote, "Great thing about boxing is it's mano a mano. But the bad thing about boxing is if you don't get a knockout victory, it gets left in the hands of the three blind mice, or even, may I say, corrupt judges." Crawford's well aware and is going for the juggler with a knockout victory. Hashtag Spence Crawford. Wow, just starting out with fire, Rick. Now, what prompted this tweet, brother?
It's just the way it is. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, he's going for it. You know, he's not going to be, you know, lolly-dollying around and feeling out, and he's going to go for it. This is his it's going to be his Hagler Hearns, and he's going to be fucking Hagler.
Wow. I tell you what, we'll all be the beneficiaries then, regardless of who gets their arm raised in victory. We want to see a wah. Yeah, I used the Bostonian accent there. Thank you very much. But I will say this, though. The three judges at ringside, Steve Weisfeld, David Sutherland, and Tim Cheatham. Do you have a problem with, and once again, you know as well as I do, that the reason why those three got these assignments and regularly do get these assignments, because they've proven themselves to be the most accurate and consistent. Do you see any problems?
I don't have a problem. But I do have a problem with the guy's last name is Cheatham, because it sounds like he's got to cheat somebody.
It's like that law firm representing you, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Oh, shit. So I tell you what, now, once again, here's one from our brother G Funky. And this was delivered by you, July 26, 2023, at 12:03 p.m. I have to laugh before I even say this. Quote, "Listen to this from the mouth of Steven Espinosa. What an embarrassment to Showtime. The balls on this guy. talking about Inoue for Tank Davis and saying they're only 13 pounds apart, which is 4 weight classes apart. It's moronic. Hashtag boxing.
Well, I wrote it wrong. It's not 4 weight classes apart. It's okay. I'm sorry. It's not 4 weight classes apart. It's 4 different weight classes.
Yep, that's it.
It's actually 3 weight class, but but it is 4 distinct weight classes apart. There's 4 different weight classes distinctly.
That's it.
But
22, 26, 30, and 35. Right. That's right.
Yeah, and he just got to 22 from 18. I mean, what was he waiting for him to make this statement when he got to 22? He wiped out a Showtime fighter, and then the stupidity of fucking Stephen Esposito mentioned Tate Davis and in a way knew however you want to pronounce his name. I mean, what? That's about as stupid as thing. That just shows he knows nothing about boxing. He doesn't respect fighters. Period.
Well, Rick, you know exactly why he stayed in this, brother. And this is not good for boxing. And look, I will say this, hopefully, and I have complete faith in our boxing community that they will indeed come through and not only purchase it, and if they can't afford it, they will go support the local businesses that are showing the fight live. And I strongly urge everyone to go to Dave and Buster's if you're in the South Texas area. Yes, I'll be hosting a fight party there with all of our local fighters. Yep, and yours truly doing ring announcing duties, and I'm going to be doing expert commentary with some of our local trainers and fighters. And guys in attendance is going to be the one and only former WBC super featherweight champion, Jesse James Leha. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, come and say hi if you're in the area. But look, that's the only way you're going to change the culture. Otherwise, you're going to get used to network executives like Steven Espinosa trying to look for ways, as ridiculous as they may seem, trying to look for ways to get the attention and to get a greater mainstream and casual demographic involved. That's the only reason why he's interested in that matchup, Rick. And it's terrible.
It's stupid. It's stupid to even talk about it. Ridiculous.
So what's the remedy for that kind of think from our network executives, Big Rick?
A vice to put his lips together.
Yeah, because look, guys, we're getting in October Fury versus Ngannou. That's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we avoid that? Look, in my opinion, Rick, and let me ask you if you agree with this. Please tell me. The only way that we're going to avoid crap like this in the future is if fans start financially supporting events like Crawford Spence.
Well, I'm not necessarily. It's a different marketplace too. That's more of an international fight. They're going to cross fight with the MMA people and boxing people and the general public. I get that. I don't really have that much of a problem if they called it a real fight. In other words, we're counted on the record and everything else like that as a real fight. That's an exhibition. Okay, fine. I get it. Okay, but you know, the boxing's about Inoue and Fulton, Crawford and Spence. I get it. Okay, that's great, and I agree with all that. But they can't have too many freak shows out there as a general rule. Come on, let's stick to core boxing. Jesus Christ, it's just everybody's trying to do an offshoot of what boxing is. Boxing's supposed to be the best fighting the best, or not the best fighting the best, but 2 competitive guys on the same level.
And there it is. And there it is. Very well said, Big Rick. Couldn't have said it any. And, you know, I smell an article coming out of that one as well, my friend. Thank you, Big Rick.
Yep.
So let's move on. And one that wasn't on my list, but it caught my eye, and I have to include this. And you stated this, and this is regarding, this is a response to Steve Kim, his tweet, longtime boxing journalist. He said, for the past few years, Spence Crawford is at the top of the wish list for Larry Merchant. I had lunch last week with him, and these were his thoughts on the fight on the latest K9's Corner from Snack System. And you stated this. Yeah, I always thought Larry Merchant was very arrogant, but a great observer of boxing. And Steve Kim has it right here with Larry, R.E. Spence Crawford. And that was, given to us about 4 hours ago, Rick. Now, I'm going to read a segment from Larry Merchant from that article, very well done by Steve Kim. And he says this, because I want to see what you agree with him on. He said this, quote, not just welterweight, but to see two American fighters in a fight that is so big an event. Anyone who ever saw a fight wants to see this one, right? End quote. And he said, it's different. It would be hyperbole to say it's a modern day Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns. It's different in a sense that those fighters were 10 years younger than these fighters. They were well known. It was a huge event, terrific fight. I'm just hoping in this fight that it's so good we want to see it again. And once again, spoken in true Larry Merchant form, right? So he's actually picking Errol Spence Jr. I'm assuming that that's not the part you agree with.
Joe, it jumped off. It disconnected me for a minute, and I'm back on. I just want to let you know I missed about a minute and a half. Okay,
my apologies, brother. Rather than going through that entire segment again, so you know what? Let me get your thoughts on this. And once again, I agree with you. And it's split with most insiders and guys who've been in this business for a considerable, substantial amount of time. That either you loved Larry or you thought he was an arrogant prick. Pardon my French.
Well, wait. Let me clarify that. He was a very arrogant prick. Okay, but he was good for boxing.
Yes, sir.
And he knew what he was talking about. But he was an very arrogant prick too.
Yes, he was.
You can be both.
Yes, he was. And you know what? And yes, I agree with you. He was an arrogant prick, and he thought he was too good for everybody. But I will say this, though. Boy, he was a legend. And for my money, Rick, no one could put a bow at the spur of the moment like Larry Merchant.
No, he was great. There's no question about it. But being a very arrogant prick, you can be that and still be great. And there's no question about it. Many people prove that over the years.
Well, dare I say, Big Rick Glaser.
Okay.
Just jiving, brother. You're a dear friend of mine, and I love you, brother. And but I'm just sharing the sentiment of many, just like Larry. It was split, right? But there was always that level of respect for Larry, just like there's always that level of respect with you.
What my wife says about me, 50% of the people love me, 50% hate me. 50% of those people want to kiss me on both cheeks. The other 50% wants to put two behind my ear.
Well, brother, at least they have an opinion of you. That's a great thing. It looks like you're on the right track, my friend. Moving on, July 26th, 7:13 a.m. Last tweet. You said this, quote, "This is a problem with scoring fights. Fulton did a little better in round 7 than the previous 6 rounds. So the judges and even the ESPN announcers gave him round 7, but Inoue still carried the action in round 7. What the judges and the ESPN announcers did was give Fulton a sympathy round, and it happens far too often. No way should Fulton have been rewarded any round in the fight. Hashtag boxing." You know what, Rick? Is that an ominous sign of things to come in Vegas this Saturday?
Well, you know what? It like some people said to me, several people called me on that tweet. Called me up, because they wanted to talk about Inoue in general. But they said, well, how does it affect things? It doesn't affect anything. The right guy still won. If it would have went to the scorecards, the right guy still would have won. Yep. But you don't give a round just because he did better than the first 6 rounds. Oh, he did a little better, and he didn't get destroyed that round. Okay, well, we're going to give him that round. No, he didn't earn the round.
Yep,
he did not earn that round. Period. End of story. People say, well, what's the difference? There is no difference because it was a knockout. And if it went to the scorecards, okay, they would have given him 1 round. But it's not. He didn't win that round, is my point. It's just that people don't look at it that way. That's
You know
all.
what? That's absolutely right. And in my opinion, there are far too many sympathy rounds.
Here's an example.
Yep.
If that would have been in the first 4 rounds of the fight, they wouldn't have given him that. They wouldn't have given him that round. But because he was down 6-0 already, getting destroyed, they gave him that round. That's a sympathy round.
That is the definition of a sympathy round. A perfect example of it. And so, do you think we'll see that, or do you think it's going to be a lot more competitive on Saturday night?
Well, I think it's going to be a lot more competitive. I think it's going to be more competitive because Earl's been in a lot of big fights that Fulton was not in. Huge fights. Fulton was in big fights for him, but they weren't huge fights. I do give Fulton credit for going over there. Okay, there's no question about it. But he was going over there. He made more money in one fight, $3.1 million, than he did his entire career. All the fights cumulatively added up, he didn't make $3.1 million. So that was really a no-brainer to go over there. I mean, people said, well, why didn't Heyman let his fighter go over there? Because it would have went to purse bids. It would have been a mismatch.
Yep.
In other words,
he
put 15,000 people in the door, and probably at those ticket prices over there, $500 a piece. That's $7.5 million.
Yep, that's it. You've got the beat, brother. And once again, man, I don't know why anyone is even bringing that up. If they do, they certainly don't understand the business of boxing. How much do you think that fight is worth in America?
Nowhere near that.
Nowhere near that. Did you see that packed house in Tokyo, Japan?
15,000 people pay. And the only reason why it didn't go to a bigger arena was because the 35,000 seat arena was something was there, a convention or some friggin' thing. I can't remember. I was told a long time ago. They had to go. The second biggest one was 15,000, and not the 35,000, but it would have drawn 35,000.
Yep, it certainly would have. And once again, a fantastic event. Let's go ahead and say hello to our dear friends in the chat before we move on to Fact or Fiction. Well, let me read this one just 1 second. One more, guys. We've got time for one more, right? And this was on July 26th at 5:41 a.m., Big Rick. And you said this, quote, "Great change. Hashtag Spence Crawford starts at 8 p.m. Eastern on pay-per-view instead of the traditional 9 p.m. Eastern, which means Crawford's victory party can start an hour earlier." And you also said the pay-per-view will cost $84.99, also breaking from the recent price of $74.99 for boxing pay-per-views. And yes, I'm buying it. End quote. Do you think this affects the number of purchases, or do you think everyone who's already going to purchase this, it deters them in the not in the slightest?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything because the people are going to steal it. They're going to steal it no matter what the price is.
Yep.
And the people are going to buy it. They're going to buy it if they want to. And $10 in this type of fight is not going to make, just like it didn't matter with Ryan Davis and Gervonta Davis. It doesn't matter. So I don't really have a problem with the $10. I really don't. It's not like it should be $59.95 like the old days. All of a sudden they're jumping it up to $85. They just did the Gervonta Davis, and when you call it was $10 more than it had been in the past. Okay, fine, whatever, But I don't really have a problem with the $10. But the people are going to steal it. They're still going to steal it. It doesn't matter what the price is. It was in 1995 the pricks would steal it.
That is absolutely correct, guys. And
you got to remember something. When somebody steals the pay-per-view, they feel like they accomplished something in their small, infinite, stupid minds. That's the way it is.
No, you're right on the money, brother. So we're going to say hello very quickly to our dear friends in the chat. Want to give a big shout out to my brother Jesus M. Saludos to you, my friend. And he's got a question for you, Big Rick. He says, Big Rick, how would you grade the undercard of Spence versus Crawford? We're going to go through that very quickly. In the co-main event, we've got Isaac Cruz versus Giovanni Cabrera.
Well, I think that's a mismatch. Cruz is way too strong, too tenacious, too fast and too everything for Maletti, who's an overachieving, limited club fighter, left-handed, can't
Yep.
break a grape, has his chin up in the air most of the fight. The fucker fights like he's a flagpole, for Christ's sake. His head on top of the fucking flag, for Christ's sake.
Indeed, brother. So are we seeing a sneak preview of Gervonta Davis's next pay-per-view later this year in November or December?
Well, I think he's gonna end up fighting Isaac Cruz next. I really do.
That's it. You're getting a sneak preview of this.
Yeah, and then Donaire's
pay-per-view.
is Donaire's last stand. If he doesn't win, he's gonna have to probably retire. And if he wins, he's a world champion again at 40 years old. So it's I don't have a problem with the pay-per-view.
That's it. Again,
they're showcasing
Santiago.
Right,
Yep.
they're showcasing Isaac Cruz like he's something. With the fight, like he's something because he's fighting Giovanni. Maletti's nothing. He's just a guy.
And there it is. And there it is. Great call, Big Rick. And also to start us off, you've got young 23-year-old Yoenis Tellez, Coach Ronnie's fighter. He's got a record of only 5-0 with 4 knockouts. Could it be taking on Sergio Garcia, a fight veteran of 36 professional bouts? Is this too soon? So once again, that's coming up in Fact or Fiction. We'll go over that. I almost gave the game plan away. Want to give a big shout out to El Pinche. Woo! And there it is. Thank you for supporting Rick on this Thursday evening. Also, my brother Outlaw, Joe, and Rick. Yes, sir. Thank you for supporting Big Rick on this evening. Also, my brother from across the pond, here to there. He says, cheers, Rick. Joseph, agreed. Internet accessibility has killed any time of journalistic standards. Credit to you, Joseph, for being one of the last of the dying media breed. Thank you, brother, for noticing, and thank you for always supporting Big Rick and Warwick Radio. Thank you, my friend. I guess this was from your Steven Espinosa tweet. The weasel.
No, it's what Conor McGregor said. The fucking weasel. The fucking weasel.
Woo! Shout out to Connor. Here's and here to there also says, Espinosa PPC. They just have no shame in their protection in the con game. That is the Tank Davis business. Well, honestly, I like the Isaac Cruz matchup, and I hope that does indeed materialize, guys.
It's a fun fight. I agree. It's a fun fight. It is.
Great matchup. One of the best matchups that you can make at 35. Also want to give a big shout out to my brother, Electro Jed, EJ. Guys, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to my brother, EJ. Salute to you, Joseph, and to Rick Glaser. Salute to the chat. Salute to you, my friend. Thank you for supporting Big Rick. And he also says this about the scorecard, right? I actually had round 5 as a swing round, but the rest were solid in rounds. Honestly, I couldn't find a round to give. I thought, I thought in round 7, yes, he did considerably better, but that wasn't saying anything at all. Now, was it, Rick?
No. It was. It just shows you how inept these judges are. And the announcers, they fall for this shit. Unbelievable.
And there it is. John Smith, welcome to the show, sir. Salute to you. Thank you for supporting Big Rick. And here to there all says the biggest problem for Crawford Spence is the UFC card. It's absolutely stacked with star names, probably their best card of the year. And unfortunately, Rick, it's affecting the ESPN coverage of this super fight because obviously ESPN's in the UFC business, sir. How's that going to affect the performance on pay-per-view?
It's going to affect it. Matter of fact, ESPN has put their boxing on Friday night this week. Not to interfere with the other 2 events. And Top Rank's got the show at the Palms at Sinisa, whatever her name is, Sinisa, whatever. I don't even know. Yeah, Estrada. Yeah. And so that's Friday night because of the fact that's tomorrow night because of the pay-per-view of the 2 pay-per-views, I should say. So there you go.
Yeah, well, let's just hope that our boxing diehards, our boxing faithful really come through in flying colors. We're hoping that you guys will. I know my Warwick Radio extended family will. Also give a big shout out to my brother Peter Von Arns. Good evening, Joseph and Big Rick. Good evening to you, brother. And thank you for once again supporting Big Rick Glaser on this special impromptu Thursday night episode. And are you ready, Big Rick? Here we go, sir.
Hey, we ain't ducking and dodging nobody. It's time for Fact or Fiction.
Thank you, Floyd, for the honors. Are you ready, Big Rick? Here's number one, sir.
Yep.
Naoya, the monster, Inoue, will remain the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet after Saturday, July 29th. Fact or fiction?
Well, he will be, because most people have Crawford as number one. Yeah, I think pound for pound, because he's so small, I would say he's the best fighter in the world right now. Yep.
Wow, and you think he's still going to be, regardless of the outcome on Saturday night?
I do it. Well, listen, Crawford could wipe Spence off the face of the earth, or vice versa, and if that happened, yeah, there's a possibility. But really, I really believe that Inoue is the best pound for pound.
I'm in agreement with you, Rick. I think there has to be a dominant performance either way Saturday night for them to retake that number one position, in my opinion. Right. I think you're absolutely right on the money. Number two, wow, Coach Ronnie Shields, his 154-pound fighter, Yoenis Tellez, with a 5-0 with 4 KO record, will be competing in the opening bout of Saturday night's pay-per-view against veteran Sergio Garcia, and is being moved too quickly. Fact or fiction?
He may be moved too quickly, but this isn't the fight that shows up. Ronnie wouldn't be taking this fight for his fighter if he didn't think he could win. And Sergio Garcia is on the back nine, heading towards the clubhouse real quick.
You know what, brother? I think you're absolutely right. But have you noticed, though, this is somewhat of a trend with PBC? They don't do the meticulous job of Brad Goodman or Bruce Trampler. They do not take their time with their prospects. Is this a problem moving forward?
Well, they used to, because they had the money to develop. Now they don't have the money, so they're rushing everybody.
Is that a bad thing for the health of the sport, Big Rick?
No, it's not a bad thing for the health of the sport. It's a bad thing if you're signing up with PBC and you're a prospect.
Touche. Can't argue with that, brother. So, guys, be on the lookout. Support Coach Ronnie's 54-pound badass prospect from Cuba, Yoenis Tellez, this Saturday, the opening bout of the pay-per-view portion of the card. Guys, support this pay-per-view. Number 3 is something that you may be able to provide a lot of insight into. Number 3, Oscar De La Hoya will convince O'Hara Davies to take step-aside money to allow Rolly Romero to defend his WBA 140-pound trinket against Ryan Garcia on Showtime DAZN pay-per-view in November.
It all depends. Oscar's suing Ryan and his trainer, his advisor attorney right now, and we'll see. I don't know. Let's see if they come clean and they get in line. Let's see what happens.
Wow. So if you had to pull out your crystal ball, what do you think happens? How does that get resolved, sir?
I think that they have to come clean, and what's the name has to fall in line behind the promoter, and he's trying to overrun the promoter because he's friends with Heyman. That's that Turkey advisor that he's got.
Lupe. Valencia. Yep.
And what he knows about boxing, you could write out a Match Plus cover, large yellow crayon.
I love it. And no, that's no exaggeration, guys. So let's just hope for the best, guys. Honestly, are you thrilled at the prospect of possibly seeing Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia on pay-per-view, sir?
If he comes clean with Oscar, yeah, I don't have any problem with it. If he doesn't come clean with Oscar, I got a problem with it. That's all. That's that simple.
Yep. And there it is. EJ says this, Big Rick. He says, I can understand people not wanting to pay for fights they don't want, but like me, I already paid for the Crawford fight, not because of Crawford, but because Nonito was added. I support the fighters I like. Good man, brother.
Well,
Good man.
Here's where I have a problem.
Let's hear it,
If you're
sir.
not willing to pay for it, don't watch the motherfucker.
That's it.
Don't rip the fighters off because they get a piece of the pay-per-view. Don't rip the fucking fighters off.
You know what?
That's
And
what
if they
pisses
don't,
me off.
and once again, if they don't give you fights that you like, don't fucking talk about it. Don't complain about it. Just move on.
All right.
Just move on. Peter Von Hart says, Nonito, Pitbull, Crawford, Spence, hell of a card. That's it, brother. That's it. Here to there, from across the pond, he says, great observation, Joseph. Tough for PBC prospects, but the quality of the viewing for us has been much better as a result. Your thoughts, sir, on that?
A result of what? I don't understand what the question is. Result of
that
what?
Prospects being thrown in tough.
Oh,
like this last Cuban, Yoelvis Gomez, getting upset in San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opening bout on a pay-per-view show. They're wasting time. It's a low-budget fight. Come on. That's what they're doing. What they're doing is what's normally free from 8 to 9 o'clock, and then they come on the pay-per-view. They're including it in the cost of the pay-per-view. What are they really doing here? That's all they're doing.
That's it. That's it. But guys, well, we'll see. I tell you what, I'm just happy for my brother Ronnie getting that assignment. We'll see how his man Yoelis Teles performs on the big stage with all the bright lights upon him. And Peter Von Arx has the beat. ESPN can take a flying leap off a rolling donut, in my opinion. Yeah, you know, it's very disappointing, Big Rick, and I expected much better from the sports leader in the American market. Disappointing to say the least, my friend. But moving on to number 4, fact or fiction. Errol Spence will be proven correct when he states determination will be the key in defeating Terrence Bud Crawford. End quote.
No, false.
So you think determination is going to?
No, because I don't think it's going to be that close of a fight. And it'll be the speed, the agility, the foot maneuvering, the feet maneuvering, the mobility and the agility and the hand speed of Crawford and him being a sharpshooter. And I think that's going to be the only determination is how long Spence lasts, in my opinion, or it goes the distance possibly. That's where the determination. The determination is not going to be in the winner or loser. It's how far it goes.
Well, I tell you what, going back to the weigh-in, Big Rick. Now, once again, these guys are going to participate in a weigh-in that's 10 a.m. Pacific time, right?
No. 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was 1 Pacific time.
No, it's going to be 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time.
So it's in the morning?
Yep, it's in the morning.
Oh
and
God.
then the weigh-in ceremony is going to take place 5 hours later.
Oh God, it's
giving them 36 hours to hydrate. Now, once again, is this a plus or advantage for Errol Spence Jr.? He's been killing himself to make 47, sir.
Yeah, it's an advantage for Errol Spence, no question.
How do you think it affects the fight? Because once again, you think determination is just the quickest route to an ass whooping?
He lasts around longer.
From the mouth of Big Rick. I love it. Love it. So moving on to number 5, sir. Number 5. And I just did my best, what is his name? Pat Summerall. Did you like it? And coming up after the game.
I didn't even know. I didn't notice.
Oh, damn. That hurts my heart, brother.
I don't know Pat Summerall. What the hell?
Oh, come on. Pat Summerall and John Madden?
Yeah, I mean, I vaguely remember him with white hair or gray hair, and he's probably dead by now, for Christ's sake.
No, he has passed away. God rest his soul. Both of them have. But I used to love the call of Pat Summerall, and I'm gonna start doing my boxing commentary and mimicking Pat Summerall. And immediately following the game, it's murder, she wrote.
Well, the guy like with the football with the voice was Keith Jackson. The original Keith Jackson, not the player, but the original Keith Jackson. He's a southern white guy, and he used to say, "And the dogs of Georgia." Okay, that's
Yeah.
how you used to say it. The dogs of Georgia.
I tell you what, Keith Jackson, he was slighted, and he felt slighted by ABC because they gave the nod to Howard Cosell instead of him, but he got the last laugh, becoming the official voice of NCAA football. The late Keith Jackson, God rest his soul. Tell you what, a legend, a legend. And once again, I study all of these guys because this is what I do. Also want to welcome to the show the boxing scientist. Salute, gentlemen. Salute to you, my friend. Thank you for supporting Big Rick on this beautiful Thursday. Number 5, Big Rick. Here we go back to the scoring. Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. will end in a controversial decision in which fans will cry robbery and corruption, just like Haney Lomachenko post-fight. Fact or fiction?
No, I don't think so, because I believe that either Crawford knocks him out or wins decisively enough that they're not going to rob him, or maybe Earl's on the deck twice. Something like that, gets up and goes to a decision, and I think it's still going to be, I think that they're going to give him a fair shot. I don't think it's going to be as fair as if Earl is winning the rounds, but I think that, I think he's going to make it obvious enough.
Woo! I tell you what, Saturday night can't come any sooner. Guys, get your popcorn ready. It is finally going down. And once again, according to this press release that we just received on behalf of PBC, they had some interesting tidbits regarding Saturday night's show. They said Spence versus Crawford is the first undisputed welterweight championship fight in the 4-belt era, which began in 1988. Did you realize that, Rick?
I thought it was. I was thinking about it earlier, and I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. But yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. And look, in all of the welterweight unification bouts in boxing history between unbeaten champions, Spence versus Crawford has the most combined wins between them, 67-0. How do you like that?
We've been waiting for this fight for 5 years. Well, 5.5 years. What the fuck? Jesus Christ.
And Rick, Big Rick, would you like to remind everyone who you feel is responsible for us not getting this fight until now?
Al Heyman.
Would you like to expound on that, sir?
It's been the obvious. Copper tried to make this fight when they had Spence, and they wouldn't go across the street to make the fight. But I think it backfired on them. They should have done the fight before Earl had the car accident, and they should have done it before Spence grew into the weight, and Spence can barely make the weight. And I think those 3 things are going to play a big difference in the fight Saturday. And that's why they should have taken the fight 4 years ago.
Wow. And you jumped the gun, brother, because that was our next fact or fiction. Bo Mack is correct when he states Spence waited too damn long and had a better chance against Crawford when he first moved up to 47. Fact or fiction?
Because he was under full steam and he could make the weight easy, and Crawford was just growing into the weight. Now he's a full-blown welterweight. Crawford and the other guys had all kinds of problems. Bad car accident. He could have died. He should have died for all practical matters. To talk about it, you fly out of your car or your Ferrari at a high rate of speed, you're supposed to be dead. Okay, so then the eye surgery. All the inactivity that he's had, only 2 fights in 4 years. I mean, it doesn't, nothing here bodes well for him. Nothing bodes well. And if you look at him at the press conference today, Crawford looked like he always does normal, and the other guy's all sunk it in, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens. Impromptu fact or fiction. Once again, welcome to the show, boxing historian. Thank you for supporting Big Rick Glaser on this evening. He says, yep, Crawford is about to destroy Spence. We'll see what happens, guys. That's why they fight the fights. Impromptu, though, fact or fiction. Fact or fiction, Big Rick. If Deontay Wilder had knocked out Tyson Fury in the rematch, Heyman would have been more willing to make a deal with Top Rank, and we would have seen Spence versus Crawford 3 years ago. Fact or fiction?
No. he's when the fighters are big like that. I don't mean physical weight wise, but well known. Top executives, including Heyman, they look at each scenario individually. They don't count on something else. They don't think like that. So no,
so you think it had no effect at all?
none at all. None at all.
Very good. Very good. Moving on then. Fact or fiction, Big Rick? The Spence Crawford pay-per-view will attract over 1 million purchases. Fact or fiction?
Absolutely not. Not a prayer.
Wow.
Now they're going to come out with a lie. No, they might come out with a lie, but there's no way it does that kind of number. You're competing against too much. You're competing against the UFC that night. They're competing against people stealing it. The feed. There's just too many obstacles here to overcome.
So here goes over under. Over under. Does it do better or worse than Wilder versus Fury 2? Which did over 875,000?
It did 875,000. It does under that.
Oh boy. Well, guys, get ready then for circus events like Paul versus Diaz coming up on Showtime next year. Chingao.
Next month you meant next month.
No. I'm saying more events like that coming up next year on Showtime this time.
Okay.
Yeah, because once again, that's why he's throwing that out there. Tank Davis versus Inoue. That's a horse shit. But once again, trying to devise new ways of getting mainstream and casual.
Let me tell you something.
Involved.
If Stephen Espinoza was a funeral director or a mortician, people would stop dying.
Yeah. Moving on. Fact or fiction, Giovanni Cabrera will seemingly outbox Isaac Cruz, but will lose a controversial decision. And Tank versus Pitbull will still take place later this year. Fact or fiction?
No, there's nothing controversial about that fight. Nothing. Zero.
Yep, I agree, Big Rick. I agree wholeheartedly. This is just a sneak preview of Isaac Cruz versus Tank Davis, which will indeed take place in either November or December. That's it. Nothing is going to derail it. Especially
you're
not.
Right. They replaced for temporarily. They replaced a short black left-hander with a tall white left-hander. Yeah, okay. they can't punch. Keep going.
Yep. That's it, guys. So if you're hoping for the upset from Giovanni Cabrera, well, keep hoping, brother. Not going to happen. Number 9, Nonito Donaire will become the oldest man to win a bantamweight title once again this weekend, well, beating his previous existing record of 39. Fact or fiction?
Yeah, I think he'll win. He'll do enough to win. Yep.
Oh boy, he can still crack, can't he?
Yep.
Oof. Love me some Nonito Donaire. Best of luck to Nonito and Rachel both. God bless you guys. You're not a big fan of Rachel, though, are you?
No.
We'll leave it at that, right? God bless both Nonito and Rachel. Best of luck to you guys. Hope everyone has a very successful weekend on Saturday. Number 10, last but not least, Big Rick. De La Hoya is correct when he says, I don't think Canelo wins anything by beating Jermell Charlo. Fact or fiction?
Well, besides money. Okay, so yeah, no, he does because he's getting paid a lot of money. So yes, he does. But he doesn't. What he's saying is, it doesn't really mean anything in the big scheme of his resume. And he's right. He's right.
Yeah,
but there's also who else do you fight besides Benavidez? So yeah, he's right. But I see Canelo's point too.
Yep. How well does that pay-per-view perform on September 30th, Big Rick?
I think it does pretty good because you got cross cultures. When you have cross cultures like you did Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, it does well. But when you have two people from the same culture, such as Spence and Crawford, they tend not to do too well, the pay-per-view numbers.
Yep. And there it is. Well, that was supposed to be the final one, but let's do it impromptu. Fact or fiction, big number 11, Big Rick. The emotionally charged Terrence Crawford during today's press conference will not serve him well during the fight. Fact or fiction?
Ask me the question again. You digitaled out.
My apologies, sir. My apologies. The emotionally charged Terrence Crawford in today's press conference will not serve him well during the
No,
fight on Saturday night. Fact or
no,
fiction?
will have no outlay or outlook or anything will be any different. Whatever he said today, the results Saturday night will speak for themselves.
What was going on during that press conference? Wasn't that absurd?
No, not really. They're trying to hype the fight up as much as they can. You got two guys with normally bland personalities trying to be have all of a sudden they have personalities. Come on.
I thought it was great, and it got me pumped up for Saturday night. How about you?
Well, I was buying it anyway, so it really didn't matter. You know.
and there it is. Peter's got the beat. Rick, LOL. That Espinoza comment was gold. That's why we love you on this show, Rick.
Well,
Clinton Jackson, welcome to the show, and thank you for supporting Big Rick Glaser on this evening. And he says, people are crazy thinking this is going to be easy work for Crawford. I just don't see it.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's going to be a lot easier than people think it is. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a blowout. Don't get me wrong. Okay, this is not a Newey and Fulton. This is going to be more competitive, but it's good. It's not going to be as competitive as people think it is what I'm saying. People are expecting this World War III, and I just don't see it. That too real competitive, and I don't see it.
There it is. There it is. John Smith says, yeah, I see Crawford taking away Spence's jab and drastically lowering Spence's punch output with movement and counterpunching. 70 to 80 punches a round is going to drop to 40 or less very quickly. Big Rick, do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, of course.
You know what? I can easily see that happening because that's what he does. And that's what makes this fight so intriguing, Big Rick, is I can't imagine no one up to this point has been able to control range against either fighter.
Well, everybody says who's Crawford fought. My question is who's Spence fought.
Yeah.
Don't forget one thing. So Crawford's biggest part of his resume as who's refused to fight him. Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia. It was Earl Spence up until now. It was 5 years of everybody's refused to fight him. Okay, that's what the facts are. So a big part of his resume is who's turned him down or wanted stupid money. Thurman was offered $3.1 million to fight him, or $3 million, and he wanted $10 million. Well, just say you don't want to fight, you dummy.
That's it. Pricing himself out, plain and simple, brother. Plain and simple. That's a perfect example of it. Almost like Andy Ruiz pricing himself out of a fight with Tyson Fury, asking for $20 million.
Right.
Does this idiot genuinely believe he deserves that much, or is he simply pricing himself out?
I don't, people are delusional, so I don't know what they believe. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know the guy personally to form an opinion, of what's going through his state of mind, but his state of mind is 5-6 times higher than it's supposed to be.
Yep, I think Low Clarity has a beat. Thank you for joining us, sir, and thank you for supporting Big Rick on this beautiful Thursday evening. He says, bland personality probably is good for a fighter's mentality, but perhaps not for promotion. Are you surprised that we've seen, more personality from Terrence Crawford in the build-up to this fight?
No, because a lot of his money after the guarantee is going to be dependent on the pay-per-view. So he's not a dummy. He's a good, smart businessman, and he's trying to do what he can to pump the fucking thing up.
That's it. That's it. Make no mistake about it. Rick's got the beat. He also asked Rick, didn't Fulton fight Inoue for $3 million?
Yeah, $3.1 million.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And
Yep.
Outlaw laughed my ass off. The weasel.
Let me tell you one thing. If you didn't know Steven Espinoza and you put him out in the street and you say, guess what do you think he does for a living? Somebody would say he looks like a training jockey at the racetrack.
Oh, come on. That's not right. That's below the belt there, Big Rick. Jeez. But yes, he's not a very big guy. Put it this way, there's some Well, there's some theme parks that he still can't ride their biggest roller coaster. Isn't that
There
correct,
you go.
Big Rick?
That's probably true.
Yeah. Sorry. Next, gonna have to grow a couple inches to ride the Matterhorn next year. W.A.W, welcome to the show, sir, and thank you for supporting Big Rick in these final 3 minutes. He said, don't forget Spence is a great boxer and has great stamina. Also, Spence is more proven at welterweight. Question is, will the layoff in inactivity plus injury become a factor?
Absolutely,
Big Rick.
those are big. The accident, the eye, the eye injury, the eye surgery, the inactivity, blowing up in weight, the drinking. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Of all the negativities about Spence in the last 4 years, come on.
Yeah. Well, let's find out what happens. And congratulations, Big Rick. You
Let me put this
survived.
with you. All these things that we mentioned, the car accident, the eyes, the inactivity, the 2 fights in the 4 years, all the drinking, none of these are positives.
None. Zero.
What?
Zero.
There you go.
Well, I will say this, though. He gets a big advantage, though, with that 36-hour rehydration period. What weight do you
don't forget one thing.
The ring?
Don't forget one thing. He would normally get about 8 hours difference from that. So it's not a 36 advantage. It's an 8 hour advantage, really.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what.
Right. You understand what it's the difference
of
you're
course,
dealing with.
Of course.
It's not the total amount.
So how big do you think Errol Spence Jr. is going to be
he's going to
when he gets into the ring?
170 probably.
Holy
shit! About
shit!
23 pounds, and Earl will be about 158, and it won't show up because Earl's got better balance. And
you mean Terrence? Terrence is what you mean?
Yeah, Terrence got better balance. Crawford does, and that's not going to show up as much as people. Listen, it's 9 o'clock. I got to hit the street. If anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, it's at Real Rick Glaser 1. It's a verified account. There's a lot of fake Rick Glaser accounts. Why people want to fake me, I don't know, but whatever. But in the meantime, real Rick Glaser 1. And you guys look forward to talking to you guys on Monday night, and we'll rehash the fight Monday night. And hopefully I don't get abused. I'll talk to you.
Thank you, Big Rick. We appreciate you being here, my friend. God bless you, brother. Tell you what, guys, that was Rick Glaser. We want to thank him for giving us his time for the past 60 minutes. But guys, we're at the end of the line. Don't forget to tune in to War Week Radio tomorrow for I, as well as G Funky, will be interviewing an exclusive interview with the Sugar Hill Steward, trainer for Tyson Fury, as well as so many other fighters, elite level trainer. It's going to be our very intimate discussion about everything boxing, and he's going to clear up a ton of misconceptions from, dare I say, bullshit, wannabe journalists, new media. We got a lot to discuss, guys, so don't forget to tune into that. That's going to take place at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And once again, I'm going to be joined by my brother, G Funky. He does a brilliant job interviewing these guys, and we expect no less tomorrow afternoon. Guys, tune into that, please, guys. But on behalf of the Real Rick Glaser, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to War Week Radio. Have a great Thursday evening, everybody.
I wanna get
FightSaga.com and Halftime Pizza proudly present Real Talk with boxing professional Rick Glaser.